Escritorio de la Gloria.
Escritorio de la Gloria. Hoy en Ibérica Overland tenemos un camper tour muy especial y es que han venido nuestros amigos de Desk to Glory desde Canadá. Están de viaje por todo el mundo y van a pasar unas semanas aquí en España, así que vamos a ver su pickup porque es una Tundra muy especial. Nuestros amigos Richard y Ashley no hablan muy bien español, hablan un poquito, así que este vídeo va a ser en inglés, pero vamos a poner subtítulos debajo y vamos a hacer lo posible porque lo entendáis todo muy bien.
Sí, claro. Lo siento, mi español es muy malo, entiendo un poco y hablo un poquito, pero...
Necesitamos practicar mucho.
Sí, pero ahora en inglés, lo siento.
Bueno, venga, vamos en inglés. Richard nos va a enseñar primero la parte de lo que es la pickup y luego Ashley nos va a enseñar todo lo que es la camperización y el interior de la camper.
Mi casa
Perfecto.
es su casa.
Yeah. Vamos.
Perfecto.
Bueno, cuéntame primero, tell me first, Richard, what is the pickup, what is the engine, and the base?
For sure. So it's a 2008 Toyota Tundra. It's a 5.7 liter gas engine. So most of the time I'm asking for muchas gasolina, por favor. Lleno, todo. As yeah, it's thirsty. But yeah, so 5.7 liter. It's a 6-speed automatic, and I tried to keep it simple, but at the same time, it doesn't look too simple. It has ARB BP51 shocks all around, combined with Total Chaos upper and lower control arms. It's kind of nice because they're rebuildable, so wherever we are in the world, I can just replace the uniballs and not have to worry about replacing the control arms. It's quite nice. The bumper is a fairly lightweight bumper from C4 Fabrication. It has room for a winch, but we decided to save 75 pounds and keep the winch out of it. Up front, we have some Light Force HTX2 fog lights. So they have an HID center bulb and then a surround of LED. That's very like a big floodlight. It's quite nice. Snorkel, it looks the part and keeps the engine healthy, which I like because we never know what we're going to get ourselves into. Let's talk about the wheels and tires for a second.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they're 1552 Traverse HD in all bronze, and they are wrapped in a Toyo Tires 83 in a 35 by 1250 R17. It's kind of nice all-round tire. It's great for any of the trails we're going to do. Also very good in the winter. So good tire overall without having to be a winter tire for the winter or a mud terrain for the mud. Good all-round, all-terrain.
Yeah, great. I wish we could get these tires here, but we don't get the version in Europe, unfortunately.
Oh, I'm sorry. Inside, again, tried to keep it simple. The truck is 15 years old, but in fairly good shape still.
Wow, it looks new.
Yeah. And some Shillman seats keep us comfortable.
Yep.
I had to add a booster on my side here, just to raise the seat up a little bit. Little 2-inch square aluminum tube. But yeah, overall, nice little cabin. I'm just going to show you under the hood for...
Yeah. Oh yeah, we need to see under the hood.
Let's do it.
And we have to listen how it sounds.
It sounds like this, as it's sucking up all of the fuel. But another thing we did was add a lithium starting battery to reduce weight by 55 pounds.
Wow.
This is 55 pounds lighter than an AGM.
Gravity?
Yep, anti-gravity battery.
Yep.
And it has a restart function, so if we ever run the battery too low on juice, it shuts itself off, and all you have to do is hit a button on the fob, and it just acts like a jump starter. So
awesome.
No problem. Some SLE battery terminals so we can connect all of our electronics, and then a Bantam X by S-Pod with HD panel, the aluminum panel in the cab controls all the lights and the air compressor and the rear ARB locker.
So apart from these add-ons, everything else is stock and the engine, or do you modify something?
Engine is stock, transmission stock. One thing we did was replace the radiator hoses and the radiator before coming here, just trying to make sure that the cooling system was like top notch. The electrical system was all complete and ready to go. New air filter. Just did our best to do all the maintenance in advance rather than trying to find parts here.
Cool.
Yeah.
What else we have in the mechanical part?
In the mechanical part, we did change the gearing. So instead of having the stock 430-to-1 gears in the diffs, we have 529s front and rear, and the rear has a A/B air locker. But that's it. That's it.
Good suspension, good wheels and tires, and
Yep, exactly.
nothing else.
In the rear, I added a custom set of Deaver leaf springs to deal with the extra weight of the camper, and a Hellwig rear sway bar. And it keeps pretty well planted. We don't, obviously, you've seen us in the last couple of days. We don't drive that quick, but if we need to do any evasive maneuvers, it stays on the road, which is always a plus.
And what is the weight of the vehicle and the weight of the camper?
So combined, it hovers around 3,500 to 3,800 kilos, kind of depending on what's in it and what's not in it. When we first put the whole thing together, it was closer to 4,000. And I just started making changes to reduce weight. So I removed the rear seat, that was 100 pounds, so like around 50 kilos. I added that battery, the anti-gravity battery, that another 25, 30 kilos. I moved the spare tire from the back here into the cab where the seat used to be. So that moved all the weight forward.
And it's so important. I mean, I see so many times that people carrying the wheel all the way in the back.
Yeah, it's too much leverage.
Just because it looks better.
Yeah.
But then it's so much leverage. They affect so much to the suspension. People don't realize how much.
No, and I left the winch hoist and everything in place. So, if we're out here and I get a flat and we need to change the tire, I'll just put the dirty one underneath. But then when I get an opportunity to, I'll just move it back forward. Just keeping all the weight as far forward and low as possible. And one thing
awesome.
So obviously it doesn't have the bed anymore, the stock bed. So we added a Mitts alloy flatbed, which is really nice. It's Australian.
Yep.
Came from Australia via Mule Expedition Outfitters in Seattle, Washington, in the U.S. So we drove down, had them to replace the tray. It's nice. It has the 4 cabinets all the way around, even though really the front 2 are empty right now and the back 2 are used for recycling and garbage, just life on the road things, but it keeps it light. And it used to have a rear drawer this whole piece used to come all the way out. It was 2 meters long, but it weighed, 150 to 200 pounds, so like 80, 100 kilos.
Everything started adding up.
And so we also removed that. So it was really nice. We cut 200 or 300 kilos off this thing really easy just by making little changes.
Yeah.
Another place we cut weight after installing the camper was because we bought the camper complete, and Ashley will tell you a little bit more about it later, but it has a hot water heater or water heater normally, but I also did a water heater delete, another 20 kilos, just 10, 20 kilos at a time, just
something.
slowly, cutting the weight down. But yeah.
Cool. And what is more or less, people would be interested on how much petrol you use in this car?
I used more than I want, but
everything that you put.
But we'll just keep on putting more in to see as much as we can see.
We calculated yesterday more or less like 15 liters per 100 kilometers, which is not crazy.
It's not. It could be way worse.
Yeah.
It's funny, but it gets about the same fuel economy as a modified hybrid Sequoia, like a brand new Sequoia or Tundra that we get in North America. So it's not too bad considering it has a house on the back.
Yeah.
Speaking of fuel though, one other thing it changed was the truck normally came with, I think it's an 80 or 90 liter tank, and I replaced it with a 174 liter transfer flow fuel tank.
Just the same tank. You didn't have to add an extra one.
Nope, it's a replacement one. So comes out I changed the the fuel pump and the fuel filter and the gauge level sending unit. I changed all of that. Bought a brand new piece from Toyota, which was too expensive, but I put a new one in when I put the new tank in because the truck has 200,000 kilometers on it now, and I thought just for peace of mind, may as well replace the fuel pump while we're doing it.
Totally.
But it's plug and play, and it just adds an extra evap canister, like a charcoal canister, and legal in the US and Canada, and we get almost 1,000 kilometers of range.
That is amazing in this car.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, if I'm nice on the throttle.
Cool. Tell us a little bit about these hooks or shocks, because it's very interesting. Like instead of having the straps like we see many trucks, I'm very curious about this system.
Sure. So the one thing the demountable camper is nice, and it's the reason, I guess the reason why they do this a lot in North America is because there are so many different trucks. There are so many different flatbed manufacturers, like 2 or 3 out of Australia and 2 or 3 in Canada and the US, and so many different campers that the way they all started, manufacturing them is so that the bed itself is hard mounted to the frame, and then the camper is more or less like softly mounted to the bed. Because if you don't have a little bit of movement between one or the other, something's going to break, something's going to crack. So what they do here is they use these Derringer torque lift tie downs, and they have a spring inside of them, and this whole handle has a lot of leverage. So when the camper goes on it, you press it down, and then it compresses the spring so it's under tension. So the camper is tight it's secure on the flatbed, but between this having a little bit of movement in it and the rubber feet, I think there are 20 rubber feet on the bottom of the camper, there's just little bit of movement in the camper, between the camper and the flatbed, but none between the flatbed and the frame. So this relieves all the stress from the truck itself, and it just means that it is comfortable. This moves along freely without really affecting how this affects the frame.
And that is, it works both ways. Like it's going to work to save the camper from vibration and from damage.
For sure.
But also the chassis of the car, because we see many pickup trucks with chassis damage, because like they're carrying a heavy weight like this, if it's also like creating torsions and
and this is like a heavy enough thing on the back of the camper itself or the truck itself. So anything we can do to reduce additional stress is great. Yeah, and it's simple. And when we are at home, when we are in Canada, it takes about 45 minutes to demount the camper from the flatbed, and then another 45 minutes to put it back on. Just most of that time is winding the jacks.
Awesome. It's not like a system that you can do or something that you can do every weekend, but definitely it's for like long term or.
For sure. If once we're back at home, whenever that is, a year, 2 years, who knows? It means that the camper can stay off if we want to use it as a truck.
Awesome, because we had to clarify people that you are living in the truck. You're not just traveling.
We've owned the truck since 2017 and slowly made all the changes to it over time. And then last year we put the flatbed and the camper on. So we've owned this part of it for about a year, and we've lived in it for 8 or 9 months so far. And most of that has been in the UK, a little bit in the US before we shipped to the UK, and now in Spain. You'll see when Ashley gives a tour inside how fairly well organized it is, because everything has its place. But part of that is because we have a lot of storage that's exterior that we never need to access inside. So back here is our hiking and trekking gear, extra gas for the jet boil or Primus stove. And then we have here all of our shoes. We have our Boxio toilet, because we removed we actually ordered the camper without the cassette toilet. So this is our little backup Boxio toilet for emergencies, etc. These are our fancy around town shoes, the clean Vans. They don't get worn very often, but yeah, that gives you an idea of our lifestyle when those are the fancy shoes. And then this is where the Starlink lives. We have to do work and listen to the sheep while we're doing the work. So we're remote, and the only way to do that is with Starlink.
Awesome. So now let's see the inside part of the camper.
I'm gonna get Ashley to show you. She has to climb up here.
Great.
We don't have stairs or a stool or anything right now.
But you're young still.
But we're the same age, so we're all young.
You're still young.
Yes.
So Ashley, can you show us inside?
Absolutely.
Okay, let's go.
Sí, claro. Okay, so we don't have a step here, first of all, because we're trying to keep fit and have fun. So this is how we get in, which is a bit much, but it keeps us strong.
All right, I'll try. And find it just like
So this camper is an Overland Explorer Vehicles Alpine model. Yeah, it's a pop-up camper, and so this is obviously canvas. So the whole thing pops down or up, which gives us extra headroom and extra space, especially in the bed area, which is really, really nice. So
it is huge.
Yeah, it's huge. It's a queen-size bed, and it doesn't feel like I'm sleeping in a coffin, which I find is quite typical of a lot of pop-up campers. So we're really liking that. I'll show you something that's secret and hidden that nobody knows about in this camper, which is very exciting. And underneath the bed, oh, by the way, side note, so the bed does have a mattress that comes with it that is quite comfortable. So we didn't have to add a top or anything, which is nice. But underneath the bed,
wow,
yeah,
it's huge.
Huge amount of storage, like probably more than we actually need. But of course, if you have room, you're gonna fill it up. So Richard's clothes go here, my clothes go here, and some more of my clothes over here again.
And miscellaneous.
And a lot of books. So talk about extra weight. We're gonna take these back to Canada next time we go because I have a library in here. But yeah, everybody has their thing. So yeah. So this is underbed storage, yoga mat, and it extends quite far into the back there as well. So no shortage of space in here, which is awesome.
Cool.
Yeah. I found when we were initially looking for campers that there wasn't a lot of space for full-time traveling. I guess that makes sense because most people are going out for the weekend, and that's who a lot of the campers are designed for. But it was really helpful to have this added to the camper model. It's awesome. So yeah.
Great. What about the cooking system?
Yeah. So this Dometic induction cooktop was added before it had propane powered stovetop, or you know what I mean?
Gas.
Yeah. So Richard cut a hole in the bamboo countertop and replaced it with the induction, which I love. I love.
We are gonna move to induction. It's so quick.
Yeah.
So nice.
Super fast. No fumes, so you don't have to open up windows and stuff like that to get good airflow coming in.
And don't worry about filling the bottles or tank.
Exactly. Yeah, so then you kind of have to just worry about power, which is a whole other thing. But if you're getting some sun, then it's a lot easier.
How do you feed this
So we have 3 100 amp hour anti-gravity batteries, and we have a solar panel. 3 solar panels on the roof. That's our system. So we have 2 inverters. We have one to power our Starlink, which helps us work so that we can keep filling the gas tank up and be here in Spain. And our other electronics. And then we have another inverter underneath here, and it powers this bad boy. So yeah, so it's great. And we also have this control panel here. And so we have this Truma heater, so that keeps us nice and toasty when the temperatures get cool. That's powered by propane. And then all of these are like water pump and some lights. And we have the option of charging electronics here. And also the inverter powers our laptops too. So
cool.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about the canvas or the windows, or is it this like custom or it comes like this by default, you cannot change? How does it go?
So the windows, they come like this with the camper. So we didn't make any changes in that department. I'll show you how they work. It's really nice because this company is based in Canada and founded in Canada, and so they understand that the materials that you need to use for this type of thing have to be really strong and also have to have a really good way of keeping heat in and also light. So I'm really happy with the quality of the material. It's nice and thick. So you can see you've got this layer. So let's say we're further north and it doesn't get dark until...
Super thick.
Yeah. It keeps the light out really well. And then if you want... It's got really strong Velcro. So you just roll this part up here. We haven't had any issues with this Velcro becoming less sticky. And then if you want to open the window, we kind of just do this to get some good airflow. So this box here was originally intended for a shower, but we decided that we didn't want the shower because we probably wouldn't need it, I guess. Like, we'll probably be at a campsite or we can just wait. So it's a little bit of a pain to get into it, but we've adapted. So here's our 55-liter Dometic fridge. This is huge, obviously. So we can pack food for a really long time, which is great. Yeah. Again, I think this is probably slightly bigger than we need, but it's been really good so far. So yeah.
Good. And then you have a nice table.
Yep, this one is nice. It's a bamboo table that swivels around so we can move it. And there's enough space at the dinette for both Richard and I to work simultaneously, which is great. So yeah, and then there's also storage underneath here, and where you're sitting too. So not lacking storage space, that's for sure.
Great. Something else that you can tell us?
I guess in terms of like our kitchen area, most of our kitchen utensils are stored under here. It's a little bit of a mishmash. And then we also store like our coffee stuff in these Step 22 Stingray Mini flat boxes. So coffee stuff. In this one, it's easy to reach, which is good. And then we have our gigantic spice drawer. So that's awesome. And then like rice and dry foods, we store in this big flat box, also a Step 22. So this is quite low right now. Usually this wouldn't be in here, but this would be filled up with stuff.
Great. Thank you guys for this tour of your home on wheels. But I also think it's super important to know where are you going now, how do you work, or let's say like how do you sustain this way of living? Always people is interested on knowing this.
So it's important to note that it took us about 10 years or so to transition from our 9 to 5 office jobs to this lifestyle.
Yeah.
But I do writing and editing at Overland Journal and with Expedition Portal. And so I'm doing a lot of work on the computer from the camper.
Yeah, and usually my big projects in the year involve being a lead photographer and cam op and drone op and DIT for Expedition Overland when they go on their big trips. So 2 months out of the year, I work 60 days straight for them and do, always have a camera in my hands every single day, all day, every day. And then the rest of the time working on small photography or videography projects.
And we also downsized our life in Canada to the extreme. And so we don't have an apartment or a house. We just have a storage space with some of our stuff in it.
And a 1990 Toyota pickup or Hilux that is stored at a friend's shop. So those are all of our belongings that we have at home. We don't have any bills at home. We don't have rent to pay or a mortgage. Yeah.
So it's not for everybody, but it works for us.
Yeah.
So we will continue to travel through Spain for the next couple of months and eventually head down to Morocco. And then we'll see where the road takes us.
Yeah. May wander a little bit in Northern Africa, but at some point back up to Europe and east. That part of the plan is very fuzzy. So
yeah,
we'll see where the road takes us.
Awesome. And how can people find you on the internet?
The best place to find us is on Instagram. We are at Desde Glory. That's mine, and at Desde_Ash is yours. And you can find a lot of Ashley's writing on Expedition Portal and Overland Journal. And yeah, we will I don't think anybody knows this yet actually, but you can also find a series that we're creating for the Overland Network. Should be going live in January, but it'll tell the story of building the truck, selecting the camper, and making our way from Canada to Texas to England, up to Scotland, and down to Spain and beyond.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
It's been a
Muchas
pleasure.
gracias.
Sí.